So, welcome. We're super excited that you're joining our family. It's a really massive family, but we wanted to give you a warm welcome. We also want to be able to give you some background on Code for America, some background on the Brigade team, as well as the Brigade program. We want you to have some context as to what it is that you're joining. We want you to know what resources are available for you. And we want you to have some space to ask questions. So there'll be some time at the end for you to ask questions, which will probably be the most useful part for you. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. I'll be going over a really quick overview about what Code for America is, what our philosophies are, how we've sort of organized our company, and what it is that we do. And then I'll be going into the Brigade program, so how we've defined the Brigade program, what we think is important, some metrics that we like to calculate, and then this will probably be the section that'll be most relevant to you, but we want to be able to show you some resources that we have for you. So we know that we ask you to have a core team. So a lot of you guys might be coming in, you might have 3 people on your core team, you might have 10 people on your core team, you're all coming from different backgrounds, but maybe there's someone who's missing one specific skill that makes organizing a brigade really a lot easier. So recognizing that there might be some of those gaps that exist in your core team, we wanted to be able to support you guys in providing a whole range of different tools for you. So we have organizing tools, we have tech tools, we have financial tools, communication tools, and then we also have days of action. So if you can't consistently hold a hack night every night, you just don't have the capacity to do that, plugging into the days of action, which there's only 3 of them a year, is a really great way to stay involved and to keep your brigade active. We'll also be talking about some expectations, which I'm sure none of them will be a surprise to you, and then we'll be going into some Q&A. Just gonna hide that. Great. So Code for America, we are a nonprofit, but we also work in the tech industry and we work in government, and we also do a lot of community organizing. So we're straddling a lot of different fields, which puts us in a really unique position. But our mission is that we believe government can work for the people, by the people in the 21st century. And we do that by building open source technology and organizing a network of people who are dedicated to making government services simple, effective, and easy to use. So we do that through 2 main programs. One is the Brigade program, which you're a part of, which I will talk about a little bit more later. But the other thing that we run that you're probably familiar with is our fellowship program. And our fellowship program is an 11th-month program where we pair technologists and designers and project managers with different local governments across the country. And they'll basically work on something. So the local government will identify something that they need, and then those people will actually work with those local governments to help build that tool. And I think what's really interesting about that process is that it's really process oriented. Like, we care about what the outcomes are and we care about building something, but it's really about exposing government to iterative processes, agile processes, to user research processes, and that's what really creates an impact. And you guys as a brigade do that as well, simply because we require you to have government partners and to have municipal partners. So at the center of our mission, we have a philosophy, and that is the 21st century government principles. So there's 7 of them that we follow. The first one is design for people's needs. The second one is we want to make it easy for everyone to participate. Third, we want to build capacity through collaboration. And 4, we want to make data easy to find and use because we want to use data to make and improve decisions. So we really have an emphasis on having an equal balance of qualitative and quantitative data. And then 6, we want to choose the right technology for the job, which kind of lies in, it ties to the first piece. So you really want to be able to build the right thing for the people who are actually going to be using it. And that's where iterative processes and prototyping is really important. and then you want to organize for results. So just to give you a little bit of background on Code for America and how we've organized ourselves, we decided to hone in on these 4 main focus areas for the work that we produce, just simply because we wanted to sort of concentrate our resources and increase impact. And so these 4 focus areas are health and human services. I think hold on. Let's see. Sorry, I was getting really weird feedback. So health and human services is the first one. The second one is safety and justice. Third, economic development. And fourth, communication and engagement. So as you can see, they're pretty broad, but still, I think it's important to note that Code for America has decided to focus in these 4 areas. And so things like you might see something like transportation might not necessarily come up in the work that we do here at headquarters. So that's just something that's important to note. And now I want to talk about the Brigade program, which is why you're here. So congratulations. It's a pretty big undertaking, but we're super, super thrilled that you decided to volunteer and run and lead a brigade. It's really exciting. We also want to thank you for doing that. You're making a huge impact on a lot of people's lives, and that's really exciting. So the brigades are volunteer groups that collaborate with local government and community partners to build tools that address local issues. And I'm sure you're all already doing that already. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the Brigade program. It's been really, really exciting for everyone who's been involved. Here's a picture of the Brigade program in 2012. It was only a handful of people, and they met in the basement at our building here in San Francisco. And, they're just starting to talk about how they can build out this network, how they can get people interested, how they can connect people, how they can improve government, how they can really help the people who live in their communities. So that's in 2012. And just 3 years later, you can see how much it's grown. That's a picture of us at Summit, which was held in September in Oakland. And that's not even all the core team members. It's only a fraction of them. So you can sort of see how quickly it's grown and how impressive and fun it's been along the way. So the Brigade program started in 2012. It emerged from a lot of people knowing about the fellowship and wanting to get involved, but not necessarily being in a position where they could take 11 months off and move to San Francisco. And they also, it stemmed from a lot of people, living in different cities and recognizing that their cities had issues as well, and wanting to actually address those issues in the cities that they were living, and not necessarily like coming to San Francisco and then going to a city where we were working with a local government. So it's super, super grassroots. It's super, super localized. We're really proud of that. And yeah, it makes the work that you guys produce that much more exciting. So the Brigade program was modeled after Hack Nights, and it is now in over 130 cities with 45,000 members. It's very big. And so because it's so big, I think this diagram is really important. It's sort of how we've organized ourselves here at headquarters to talk with each brigade. So we recognize that it's so many people for us to manage, as well as for you as a captain to manage. And so one of the really important things that we require for you once you're formulating your brigade is that we require you to have a core team. And that's simply because we recognize that it is a lot of work for one person to lead an entire brigade. And we really want you to be able to have that support structure around you, not only from headquarters, but also from like your community and the place where you live. And we want you to have a close working relationship with other people on your core team. So see the middle blue, and the C that obviously stands for captain, and then storyteller, community organizer, delivery lead. Those are sort of the core teams that we've suggested for you to have. And it really just shows the support system that you'll have. It's really important for you to have people around you, for you to delegate tasks, and for you to split the work. Otherwise, we find that a lot of captains sort of get burnt out pretty quickly. So that's really important. We here at headquarters primarily only communicate with captains. I mean, of course, like people who are in your leadership are more than welcome to attend our webinars and our conversations. And of course, we want to interact with everyone, but primarily when we're sending information out, we're only sending it to the captains, and then it's your responsibility to sort of give it out to your core team members. Okay, so the work that you guys do, this diagram, it's mostly important for the column on the right. We just really want to communicate work that as a brigade you cannot do. So since you're working sort of under the umbrella of Code for America, you can't do anything illegal, you can't do anything partisan, you can't do anything contrary to CFA values, antagonistic to government, or intentionally non-collaborative. Don't do that. And then all the stuff on the left, that's all the stuff that we support. So of course, if you have work within the focus areas, that's great. If you have local issues that you want to address, that's great. If you want to show what's possible, fantastic. Collaborative with government, collaboration with fellows, projects and events that encode 21st century capabilities, that's great. The talent program, it's something that we're still in the process of sort of developing, but it would be like basically just leveraging, because we have access to so many people. So recognizing that like one group here in Miami might need X skill, and recognizing that like Philly can probably support that. So we're sort of like in the middle, facilitating and connecting people. And yeah, so don't forget that. I really wanted to emphasize the fact that local issues are important and that you can work on your local issues. I think when we've communicated Code for America's concentration within the focus areas, I think people have been, they've just felt, there's been a little bit of miscommunication, and they've felt discouraged in thinking that they have to lead their brigade to only be working in those 4 focus areas. And I just wanted to really emphasize that that's not the case. We do really want you to work on your local issues as well. It's what makes the Brigade program special. Just because it's localized, grassroots, we want you to work on issues that are actually affecting the people who live in your communities. So please, by all means, although Code for America is focusing in on 4 focus areas, which are still pretty broad, please don't think that that should limit the work that you're doing with your own brigade. So examples of brigade projects, there are thousands, so I only chose 2 to talk about because there are so many. Yeah, just to give you an example of a transportation one, there's a lot of transportation projects that come out of brigades, but Transit app it's by Open Cleveland, and it's super, super handy. They managed to get all the scheduled data in digital form, and then they managed to integrate that with a trip planning function, as well as the bike sharing function, as well as real-time transit information, which has been really useful for people. And then another completely different example is in Oakland. They wanted to show which buildings were soft story buildings. So soft story buildings are buildings that have a first floor that doesn't have a foundation that's strong enough to withstand an earthquake. So yeah, I mean, it's really great. It was actually implemented on the city website. So you can see like the city of Oakland, and then it's like, do I live in a soft story building? You can actually click it. And this is what was built by the Oakland Brigade, Open Oakland. So you can enter your address, and you can find out whether your building is a soft story building or not. So that's really great. I also wanted to click out here and show you, this is something that Andrew Hyder built. He's on the call with us, but basically this is the Civic Tech Project search page. If you're wondering like, hey, I wonder if there's a brigade out there that's working on something that has to do with schools. So you can enter schools. You can search. and all the projects that have to do with schools will come up. So it's a really handy tool for you to know what other people are working on, and for you to be able to connect with those people. So that's been pretty useful for folks. Great. So in numbers, what does the Brigade program look like? It's 132 total brigades, 54 official brigades, 45,000 members. And on that project search page, we have over 4,000 projects, but over 2,000 of those are brigade projects. So I think it's just really important to recognize that like over 50% of the projects that are being produced are by brigade members, and that's really, really fantastic. This is just a really quick map, just quick overview for you to know where brigades are located, pretty much everywhere. Also in the world, we run a Code for All program, which basically allows us to connect with other like-minded organizations across the world, which is really exciting. And then here, I just wanted to talk about, like, I think, 45,000 people just seems like such a huge number, and sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. If, especially if you're on Slack, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but there's so many people communicating all the time that it feels a little bit overwhelming. But I think what I really wanted to highlight here was that the network is your biggest asset. We here at headquarters, we hold some of the knowledge, but we don't hold all of it. Definitely, like a lot of the really, really great knowledge assets exist amongst you guys, amongst brigade members, amongst brigade captains. So really, like, feel free. Of course, like, we're here as a resource for you, but I think I really here with this slide really wanted to highlight that the network is your biggest asset. If you have a question about something, if you post it on Slack and you ask the entire network, I guarantee you someone has experienced the same thing or has gone through the same issue, and they'll be able to give you some advice and help you with whatever it is that you need. So metrics, just to give you an idea of what we like to measure here at Code for America, this is how we monitor the Brigade program in terms of metrics. So we, at the end of the year, calculate how many tools are built within for government. We calculate how many tools are built within for communities. How many members are hired into government is really important for us, as well as how many brigades move the needle on open data, and how many brigades spread the word about the civic tech movement. And the last one, just to give you an idea, because it seems a little bit unclear, but it's like speaking events. So if anyone spoke at a large conference somewhere or was invited to speak somewhere, we really like to know about those. So just be sure to share those with us. Any type of win, just be sure to communicate those with us, because we love to know it. We love to share it on social media. And of course, we like to calculate it in our metrics. So resources for you. This is probably the most relevant section for you folks, but organizing resources. So we have a few. The checklist is kind of just a really, really quick overview, and I'm sure you've seen this before, but it's just a really quick overview of what you do and what you get in return from Code for America. So it's just a really good reference point for you to be like, okay, I'm at this level, I'm an official brigade, these are all the things that I have access to. So it's just a really good reference point for you. The playbook is something that we just launched pretty recently. We launched it in November, but we basically took all the knowledge that we knew for the past 3 years from interacting with brigades, like from the beginning, as well as had some brigades write sections of the organizer's playbook. And it basically just has lessons and best practices for organizing a brigade. So it's divided into 3 sections: organize, build, and infrastructure. And yeah, it's really great. It has like a description of what the section is. It has a checklist of what your brigade should do, key questions to help brainstorm how to actually accomplish this section, and then a ton of resources. Like this you can actually, it's great, but you can get kind of lost just because it has so many resources that you can click out to. So yeah, this was just a really, really fantastic resource for you if you are a little bit unfamiliar with community organizing, or if you are, it's just really, really great tool for you. The calendar. So this year, one of the things that was really important for us was to have all the brigades, or almost all the brigades, sort of on the same timeline for the year, just so that we could sort of be on the same page. We understand that like each brigade functions differently and you guys are all going to be on different timelines, but this was sort of our way at headquarters to try and get everyone on the same clock. So you'll see that each month we have specific themes that we've suggested that you follow. Of course, November and December, it was strategic planning, because at the beginning of 2016, you would submit a strategic plan. But then in January, we want you to cultivate government and community partners, which should be happening naturally already, but we just really wanted to articulate that. And then we thought it'd be great if in February, you could invite someone from a government or a community partner to a user needs workshop. And we've sort of had webinars to support the things that we're asking you to do under those themes for the month. So last, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, we had a workshop, and we had Harlan from Boston run a little section on how to do a user needs workshop. All that is recorded, so you'll be able to access it on the forum. But yeah, so essentially this is a really great calendar for you to find out what workshops we are running, as well as what themes you can follow throughout the year. March is, of course, Code Across, and then you'll see June is, of course, National Day of Civic Hacking, and I'll talk about those two in just a second. Okay. So technical resources, this is totally Andrew's domain. He's done a really, really fantastic job of building a lot of infrastructure for you guys. The project search page is just one example of something that he's built for the brigades, but we also have a lot of really, really great partnerships with a lot of different tech tools. So we understand that, it's volunteers, they don't have that much time. We really wanted to facilitate collaboration and for you to actually build projects and for you to actually ship things that you built. So, you'll have access to CartoDB, Waffle.io.
Monique.
Yep.
I can jump in here.
Yeah.
All right. So we've, over the years, got a lot of the most requested services. We got them donated in a way for you to use. The way that normally looks for the majority of these is we'll actually set you up directly with the company so you can go and get donated credits through them. It usually ends up being through their startup accelerator program or something. A few of these exceptions, though, like things like Twilio, I still just have a really big pile of credits, and so you gotta work with me to get access there. But as you start to access some of these, your volunteers will want the certain tools that they're used to using. You'll start talking to other volunteer groups about what is useful for them, and you'll start to collect all of these. And the key part of this is just setting this stuff up so that it's really useful for your volunteers and easy to access for them. So it's a little bit of work. We recommend that you have one of your core team members sort of being in charge of where all the keys and all the passwords and all that kind of stuff live, and just try and make it as easy as possible for the people volunteering their time. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. So Andrew's always on Slack. He goes by Hack Your City, and then that's his email, of course, if you need to contact him. Same with financial resources. We have a fundraising manager on our team, Shakira Farrell. She put together this great fundraising handbook. It's this super comprehensive 35-page fundraising 101 guidebook that you can refer to. It has really great sample letters at the end if you want to send out letters asking for donations. So you can use that as a template. yeah, it's just, I mean, yeah, it's really long. It's a really great resource if you have a little bit of experience in fundraising, but just want to learn more. It's a really great resource for you, and you can always reach out and contact her. That's her email, and you can also find her on Slack. So speaking of finances, the way that we have it set up currently is that if we are taking money for you on behalf of your brigade, whether it be in the form of donations or grants or anything like that, the way that you would actually use that money is that you would submit expense reports to us. And we use Expensify to be able to submit your expense reports. So there's a couple of things you need to do to get set up. The first one is you need to email. So is there a question? No. Okay. So you need to email Michael Santos, so msantos@codeforamerica.org, to get set up with an account. I have screenshots, so I'll go through this in a second. But on Expensify, you need to make sure you add your bank account because you automatically get reimbursed that way. And the most important thing is that those expense reports need to be submitted by the end of the month. They're pretty strict here now. If you submit them after, unfortunately, you will not be reimbursed for those. And then it's really important to tag them appropriately. So I have a screenshot here. This is what Expensify looks like. It's pretty straightforward. It's actually a really intuitive program, but you'll have your account here at the top with your email set up. This is where you import a credit card or bank account. So you can just get that set up. First things first, that's what you should do. And then when you actually go to submit an expense report, you'll get a drop-down menu, and you'll see here it lists all the brigades. So for example, say Albuquerque was submitting something, then Albuquerque would obviously tag Albuquerque Brigade. So same with you, like Pittsburgh, you would tag Open Pittsburgh, San Mateo, Open San Mateo County. You would just tag it appropriately. And same with here. In this category, you would tag it brigades. So program, focus area, brigade, brigades. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I just wanted to flag that because it can be confusing. But once it's open, it's pretty straightforward which one you should tag. Okay, so Expensify can be a little bit confusing. Please feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions. I'm happy to walk you guys through it one by one. But plugging into the network, so this is our most valuable asset, we think. We use Slack to communicate with each other. It's just a chat. It's a chat application, but it allows all of us to be on at the same time. And by all of us, I mean like 800 people. So it's pretty special. But this one's great. I just really loved this. It's an example of how brigades help each other really easily through Slack. So like Luigi from Atlanta was like, here's an example of a fundraising email we sent out. This was back in December when people were trying to raise funds for like Giving Tuesday. So Luigi's like, here's an example of a letter. And then Brendan from Anchorage is like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then Aaron from Eau Claire is like, wow, that's great. I was going to ask for like an email template. And then Ryan from Hawaii was like, oh my God, that's awesome. So Slack is really great. It's really easy to get set up. If you are not on it already, please email me and I can add you to our Slack instance. These are some channels that there's loads, but these are just some channels that I've recommended that you join right away. Obviously the Brigade one. The Brigade Wins one is where everyone will post any type of success story that they have. And it's really great for us. Andrew actually posts a blog once a week called This Week in Civic Tech, where he'll highlight Brigade wins that have happened that week. So make sure to share those with us because we like to share them out to our network. And it's also just really great for us to know what you guys are working on. Brigade fundraising is another really popular one where people talk about different strategies or tactics that they've used for raising money. And then currently the Code Across one for 2016, we have some people in there talking about how they're doing with planning for Code Across. You can also like privately message people. The forum, you might be familiar with it already, but this is where we post all our recordings of all the webinars that we have, as well as there are some discussions that happen. It's not as active as Slack, but there are some people who participate in it. Okay, so days of action. We host 3 main events in 1 year. Our days of action are typically weekend-long hackathons. And really the point of it, for us, really, it's not necessarily that we want you to have like a weekend long event where you have, and I mean, that's usually what happens anyways, because people want to get involved and people want to work on things and people want to get stuff done. So they usually end up being long events anyways, just simply out of people's interest. But what we have found it to be super, super useful for is to show the massivity of the network. So everyone participates. There's a huge concentration of interest, huge concentration of momentum. And it's just a really, really great time for us to realize and to actually see how big our network is. And it's just been like really motivating, super, super uplifting. Social media kind of explodes during these 3 times. And the amount of activity that happens during those 2 days is super, super impressive. So it's just like 3 really great events to participate in so you can plug into the network and really feel how big it is and how impactful it is. So we have Codacross in March, National Day of Civic Hacking in June, and we have the summit, which this year is going to be in November. Okay, we're almost done. So captain's expectations, they won't be a surprise to you, but we've sort of asked you to commit to 1 year of leading your local brigade, as well as we've asked you to responsibly build your core team, not only for yourself so that you can have that support network there, but just so that you can build a healthy and sustainable brigade. We want you to commit to making your brigade look like the community the brigade is in. Diversity is sometimes an issue for people, but there are some tactics that you can use to tackle that. And we want you to commit to upholding the Code for America Code of Conduct, which you're all familiar with. Build and maintain a respectful and productive relationship with municipal partners and local governments. A lot of new brigades actually have people from the local governments who are leading the brigade, so that's been really interesting to see, and that's really great. And then we want you to lead and support the core team members, and of course, reach out if you need any help. Here's my contact information. Christopher Whitaker is stepping in to be the brigade program manager. He's actually based out in Chicago, but he's very, very reachable. On Slack, he goes by Civic Whitaker, but this is his contact information and mine as well. So that's all I had for you guys in terms of slides. Let's see.